founded. And before I start talking about Youth Speak Forum, it's a youth forum that we organize on behalf of the youth and for the youth in Kyiv this week on the 15th of October. But Tetiana may tell you in more details about this event. But before we talk about the event, let's talk about the organization. Let me tell you about the organization so that people understand who organizes it and what is the purpose of the organization and how it is related to the youth. So I have introduced myself already, Kateryna Kirvas. So let's continue. So talking about AIESEC, it's an international youth organization which develops leadership in youth by intercultural exchanges, membership in organizations, and events that assist to the development of youth leaders. AIESEC works in Ukraine in the area of different initiatives aimed at development of youth. So Youth Speak Forum is an initiative related to the sustainable development. This year we've picked such topics as volunteership, employment opportunities, and generally why is it important to create this layer of active youth in Ukraine. Talking about foundation of AIESEC, generally it was founded after the World War II by a group of young people, and it exists for 75 years already. It was founded by the representatives of 7 European countries. For what I remember, they were the representatives from Belgium, Netherlands, France, Finland, and a couple of more countries. Generally, the context that existed back then in the world was quite, unfavorable in terms of economic development. And back then in European countries, there were a lot of challenges. For example, the first challenge was reconstruction because the major part of Europe was destroyed, and just like now, a lot of people were in economic crisis, inflation. Also, let's not forget that the war has very bad consequences for the climate. And this is why a group of youth, seeing all that happen, and decided that it's necessary to create an organization that would assist to the solution of a number of challenges, to make sure that the youth is better aware of how the economy works, how the international policy works, how other countries live and feel themselves, other peoples. And this is why AIESEC was created, for cross-cultural exchange. And talking about the purpose of association, of organization, why we exist, because we want to realize the human potential and peace. Peace in this context means the world without war, and peace about the life in harmony with yourself. When you know yourself, you can better understand others, you can better understand the context of other peoples, how they live, what they do. And talking about the realization of human potential, we can say that when you feel yourself more realized, you don't have a need for conflict with anybody, to prove anything to anybody. And talking about whom we do it for, our target audience, in fact, is the youth. We engage the youth who creates better future. So when you join the organization, you organize different events, you organize cross-cultural exchange. This is how you develop. You develop yourself and you influence your friends and close ones. You tell people about AIESEC, you send people for trainings, and you improve your circle, influencing the others in a positive way. And this is how AIESEC influences the people, by spreading this circle. Talking about the ways we do it, what instruments do we use, we develop leadership, and we believe that leadership is a fundamental solution. It can be developed by whoever, with whoever, by whoever. We don't think that if you're born leader, you are a leader, so you either have those features or not. No, you can join the organization and you can develop those qualities and become a leader who moves our country to the better. Talking about how we do it, we give the youth the opportunity, the possibility to become the leaders and to influence the world around them. So we're talking about the positive influence of the values. We live by those values, we act in a transparent way, we don't conceal anything. Or, for example, we try to understand the thoughts of the others. As an organization, we don't discriminate by no attributes, not depending of your sexual orientation or gender or whatever. And what we generally do, if we talk practically, we engage the youth so they can develop the leadership in an environment full of challenges. Here we would like to give this example of trainings that we organize. For example, it's an international training in the area of volunteership in other countries, or it's the professional area like IT or business administration, or otherwise it can be training in the area of education. And when people go to other countries, to different realities, to work with a school or a company, or to work in other realities, they get out of their comfort zone. They feel that environment of challenges through which they develop, because only if you perceive those challenges, you perceive some difficulties, you go through them, this is the only way you can develop in your life. So AIESEC is not about stagnation, but rather about development. And talking about activity and context of AIESEC in Ukraine, we have 11 local offices in Ukraine. We have in Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, Dnipro, Lviv, many cities of Ukraine. We have about 500 active members, and on annual basis we engage about 7,000 youth, plus we have more than 100 partners all across Ukraine. And during the full-scale war, as it started, we created a new project that is not really related to something AIESEC does globally, but is the project of AIESEC in Ukraine, for Ukraine, on behalf of Ukraine. And talking about our activity in detail, and as I talk, we have global volunteer, global talent, and global teacher international trainings. So it's a volunteer, talent, and teacher trainings, which I told you about what is the concept. They can be long-term or short-term, so you set off for a different country to create positive influence there, or you work in a company, in a school, in an NGO, in certain area that is aimed at sustainable development. And talking about the project that was created during the war, it's the Lead for Peace initiative that supports the development of Ukrainian youth and Ukrainian school children. So the delegates teach in schools the classes that are not related to mathematics, reading, or something like that. It's more about social influence, about the opportunities to act in a sustainable way and stuff like that. And here you can see the results that were documented since the beginning of the full-scale invasion and this project. And here I would like to talk more about Youth Speak Forum in more detail, about its goals and about the opportunities to get the youth involved. I'm seeing you're having a question. Obviously, yes, you've touched upon the changes that happened in AIESEC since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. It might be interesting for all the youth. One of the missions that you have is the volunteership. Did you make it involving volunteers who come to Ukraine and help here? Well, actually, as the full-scale invasion had begun, we had to shut down the Department of Incoming Trainings, and this issue was not brought up for some time because the conditions were unfavorable. But now we are thinking about reopening it, and maybe from the beginning of the next autumn probably we will have volunteers coming to Ukraine. It's a project that takes time, to resume it, because not many organizations are ready to do that, but we're thinking about it, not even thinking, but we're doing something to resume it already. Thank you very much, Kateryna. So, Tetiana, let's proceed to the forum itself. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. As we already mentioned, my name is Tetiana, and I'm the head of events and project management of AIESEC in Ukraine. And together with Sofia, we will talk about our forum, what you can expect from it, whom you can expect to see, and why you should join us generally. I'll start with the fact that Youth Speak Forum is the annual event for active youth that looks for opportunities to make their country better. How we do it, as Kateryna has mentioned, we involve our partners and we talk about employment, volunteership, and this year we will be talking also about the help for Ukraine and about how the youth can get engaged in rebuilding and support for the soonest possible victory of our country. And talking in more detail, the event will start at 10 o'clock on 15th of October in the morning, so we will wait for everybody. The event will be going on until 1800. We will have sessions from our co-organizer, the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy. We will have networking space, panel discussions where different actual and burning topics will be discussed, and it will be happening in Gulliver, 11th floor, and the cost of attendance is 300 hryvnias, and I think Sofia will tell you in more detail about what you can expect. So the vision of this forum, youth has no limits. So there are no limits, no restrictions. We really believe that every single human being can achieve whatever they want. So you can see that the focus is on the word you, like everybody can come and find out something new and then walk on to their dreams, to their goals, and support the development of Ukraine further on. And talking about our partners, representatives of the speakers, as it was said, we will have representatives of the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy. Also joining us will be Bank. They will tell more about the focus on people, how they work on this, how we should develop in this area. And also our partners will be Binance. They will talk about financial part, about cryptocurrencies. And as you can understand, they are not all speakers. We keep something still secret. The representatives of different NGOs who work in Kyiv specifically and in Ukraine in general, and you will get a lot of positive emotions there too. Also, you can see the QR code on the screen is the link to our Instagram. Over there you can see a link to our registration for our forums, so please follow this link and see you on 15th of October. Thank you, Sofia, Dmytro. So I would like to give the floor to you. Please tell us about your participation in this forum. Good morning all. So talking about Europort project, it's an international initiative that is working in more than 100 countries of the world. It's the UNICEF initiative that makes surveys around the youth, very progressive surveys that are made through Viber, Facebook, and Telegram. And using those surveys, the youth can express their thoughts on different issues such like volunteership, media literacy, financial literacy, thus expressing ideas about what should be changed in our environment, what projects should be implemented, what knowledge is still missing, and the different ministries and non-government organizations can become our partners, those who are interested in hearing the thoughts of the youth to implement high quality change, and so that youth knows that their thoughts matter, because Usually the youth don't know how to solve this or that problem, and we can become such a bridge between the youth and directly beneficiaries who can influence the changes in our country. And this is why we will be there in forum. We will have our location where we can communicate with the youth communicate the ideas of the values of a project to them. Many of our partners are already engaged. We meet them frequently at our events, and our surveys are going on very frequently. And YouthSpeak Forum is yet another platform where we can use in different youth who are aspiring for change, and we plan different activities. We will have contacts. You can win our merch there. We will initiate different surveys there for different organizations, for communities with whom we work on non-commercial basis, and thus we will be able to push that youth who are probably afraid to make such a survey or don't have enough funding to gather people around them who will help to develop their community just by surveys. If you have 5 minutes of free time and access to internet, anybody can get involved in changes of the environment. So Dmytro, you've mentioned the survey, quite an interesting story. If something comes up to your mind, I will ask you about some insights regarding our youth from your research. Well, I'm not sure I can communicate any insights for you because we had a lot of surveys recently. The most recent was about mental health. I cannot give you the exact figures, but let me double check if we have those figures that we post on our social pages in Facebook and Instagram. Those the actual figures, maybe not the most recent but the most influential ones. During the full-scale invasion we had surveys about competitive Ukraine. We asked whether the youth is ready to change their profession to rebuild the country, and almost 40% said they are ready to get trained, to get new competencies. And it's very pleasant for us that our results were used by relevant programs that were established, and the results of the survey were presented in the head office of USAID in Washington, D.C., and we were able to launch a couple of phases of this program. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. If we have any questions on the floor. Good morning, Julia Kadina, Ukrinform. Did you check what are the ideas and initiatives that were implemented by the participants of the previous forums? Thank you. So please give us 30 seconds to think about it. Well, in fact, I am a person who attended the previous Youth Speak Forum. I was a speaker myself, and the year before, so the year before it was happening in offline format. It was physically, we can say, in Kyiv, but the last year we've organized it online. So talking about the projects and insights that were implemented, I can say that YouSpeak Forum itself is about the format of some, I cannot say teaching, but it's rather more about panel discussions and the speakers that can inspire the youth to act. So it's more about like giving an impetus to the youth, to giving them some hope that they can do something. So there were no brainstorming spaces there, so that people provide us with their ideas, but I thought just now that it would be good to have at those forums us as representatives of youth organizations, those who push the youth, who move the youth, so that we can have some networking to gather information about what is a present issue for the what are the present issues for the youth, like not to find it out through surveys or researches so that it happens physically. I would probably like to ask you in more detail. You've mentioned more than 500 participants. So do you know any stories of AIESEC implementing any interesting projects that you can boast? Well, yeah, we have a lot of graduates of our organization. I cannot say about the members who exist now, but one of our graduates, one of the most famous, is Anya Mazur. She is the founder of Happy Monday, or Vitaly Drost. He is CEO of Bodo UA. Also, one of our graduates was the founder of Tabletочки Foundation. So, about our graduates, they are not youth anymore, they're 30 plus, but they used to be a part of our organizations and they were in the top offices of our organization. Right now, it's difficult to come up with an example of participants implementing something, some project, but as the full-scale invasion had begun, as I remember, there was no crisis in the organization. It didn't happen so that all the members, all the participants just left the organization due to the crisis. Just on contrary, it got us gathered around the local communities and they were implementing their projects that they were coming up with. They were just the initiatives to raise funds for armed forces of Ukraine. So those were internal initiatives where people got together and they made up something new. Maybe someone has anything to add. What I could add is about the implementation. Well, not about USpeak Forum, but the next semester AIESEC will organize an event called Solution Lab. It will be aimed at gathering the youth to make sure that within a couple of days we brainstorm, we create startups, and a group that would probably come up with the most interesting idea for startup, we will continue with supporting them with funding so they can implement their idea. It will be happening somewhere around May, June 2024, and we will be able to follow the updates about that event. Thank you very much. You wanted to add something, Kateryna? Yeah. It came up to my mind that in year 21 I've forgotten about a very interesting event. There was a similar concept. It was called Youth Hack Bootcamp, and it was implemented and it was aimed at social entrepreneurship. We had teams of young people who created new projects that were mostly aimed at solution of social issues, like or the price or the concept itself was in presenting the concept, the project, the drafts of their businesses, the companies that were then evaluated, the companies were evaluating those drafts and they were giving the money to the winner to implement their projects. Thank you very much. And probably the last question, so what are your expectations about the forum? What are your expectations, Tetiana, Sofia? Well, first of all, I would like to see the youth, the indifferent youth who wants to get engaged in a forum, who want to understand its goal, who want to enjoy every single moment, to meet partners, representatives of youth organizations, to hear their stories, and to invest in this story from the very beginning, not even from beginning, but in continuation of support of our country. This is what we set as the goal for us. Maybe Sofia has more expectations. I think that, as it was mentioned, our main goal is to inspire the youth so that we can make sure that our vision, youth has no limits, will come true after this forum, that people who come to spend this Sunday to make some use of it, so that they find some insights, they can draw something out of this forum, and that they came there for a reason. I want to thank you. I wish you success. Let this forum unite most of our youth possible. Let it become a locomotive that pushes our country towards our plans, our wonderful future. Thank you very much. I want to thank the journalists for the interest in this topic, and we continue working together for our victory. We want to thank our security and defense forces, and glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes.